Good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you are joining us from. I'm here today with Todd Jones, who is the CEO and founder of TepinTasks. Good morning, Todd.
Morning, Scott. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. It's good to talk to you again. For those of you watching the video who don't know Todd, Todd has created several companies, but one that the channel is very familiar with, Auto Elevate. So we're glad to have you, Todd.
Well, thanks. Yeah, it's nice to be back. Yeah, nice to be back here with the MSPs near and dear to my heart. You know, after I exited Auto Elevate, I kind of wasn't around too much to some of the normal stuff I've been doing for the last 20 years. But it's like every time I run into an MSP, man, it's just like home, you know?
There you go. Well, how long have you been involved in IT?
Well, let's see. Since the late 90s.
Okay.
Yeah, so I mean, that's when I think I started learning, transitioning from the things I was doing into learning about IT and computers like 95, 96-ish.
Okay. All right. Well,
I was in a big rush at that point because, everyone was talking about Y2K and I had to learn what I was doing so I could, you know, I could be part of that and not miss out because I was worried. I was coming to the show late because, after Y2K there wasn't as much opportunity, right?
that's right. I remember Y2K. There was stickers everywhere, and there was a big old buzz around it. And don't be in an elevator. I was actually an on-air personality at a local radio station here, and I was doing the overnight shift. So my biggest worry was whether the elevator was going to work to get me down to the lobby when my shift was over. So it all ended up okay, though. I think it was a big ordeal over nothing. So. But what were you doing during Y2K?
So yeah, I had I was doing IT support, had started a support business
Okay.
doing IT stuff. That was kind of the right in that time frame is really when I've pretty much always been self-employed pretty much right out of high school. I've had a number of different businesses that I've built and exited and invented things and done things. And so at one point, originally the thing I was like near and dear to my heart out of high school was cars. So
Okay.
I had some businesses that were related to car reconditioning. So I had I had built up in Colorado a whole auto reconditioning thing. We worked for hundreds of car dealerships, and I had like 7 or 8 locations and a body shop and a whole bunch of stuff. But
Okay.
that I found out that although I love cars, I don't like dealing with car lots, car managers, or the car business. So I kind of did some soul searching, and decided, well, what is that? What would what do I really want to do? And um, the at the time I had a shop in Boulder, Colorado, where we had a lot of retail people bring their fancy cars in and stuff. And there's a lot of people that come in from Sun or IBM,
Okay.
they always had really nice cars and a lot of money. And I thought, man, but just like what struck me about it was like, man, they're not the smartest people I've ever run into. My perception of computer people is like, oh, they're like super smart. They got everything,
Right.
they got the universe figured out, and they know how to like zeros and ones and everything. And came to the conclusion, it's like if these people can figure it out, I can figure it out.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
And so when I did my soul searching to decide what I want to do, I said, I'm going to learn the computer business from the ground up, and I'll figure out what kind of business I want to start or what kind of thing I want to do once learn the skills and learn all the pieces and parts of it. So that was kind of then I, got into that. So
Awesome. So you said that you owned an auto reconditioning business.
yeah, so
Tell us a little bit about that.
all right. So now we're taking like a real jog down memory lane. So out of high school, I started it. It all started with upholstery repair. Like I did velour, leather, vinyl repair inside of cars.
Okay.
So I figured out the place to go do that was at the used car dealerships. So figured out that, you could go at a used car dealership and they always have a whole inventory of new cars come in that have cigarette burns or cracks in the vinyl or dashes and whatever. So that's all kind of how that started. And then as I kind of learned that business and got into it, then I got into like paint touch up on the outside and paintless dent repair, and then wheels and accessories, and it pretty much it was like the a very similar thing that MSPs do, or at least I did in my MSP practice, which is as an MSP, when you have a client, right, you want to provide the whole range of services, or at least be the point of contact for those services, so that you can
Sure.
control the account, right?
Absolutely.
And it was the exact same thing in that business, which is like, okay, now I have this relationship with the dealership. Now it's like I either want to hand because everybody else is like with all the other vendors come in is like, hey, we can fix that upholstery thing or that whatever thing too. So it's kind of the same game, right? Which is you kind of a one-stop shop. You're going to provide everything, or at least be the point of contact for everything that happens on the reconditioning side of the house. So that's kind of how that business got built. I, had originally started it in South Dakota and figured that was not where I wanted to be because it's just like the distance, the size of the dealerships and the distance between them was just too great. So I came and brought that kind of concept to Colorado and just got into every kind of thing all the way up to then I opened a body shop, which was just kind of like for me, kind of like the pinnacle of this is of coolness, right? Which is
Okay.
downdraft paint booth and you know we were completely tearing cars apart and doing the whole 9 yards. So we kind of did full service everything in that
Okay.
business. But again, along the way, one of the things, I started out because I loved cars and I was excited about cars and I needed a way to make money. And then along the way, I realized that when you work for like 100 used car dealers,
Sure.
your entire existence is dealing with those used car managers and dealers or general managers or new, and we did work on the new side because we started even working on new cars where we would uh do like when the new cars come in, they come off the truck and they have little issues like under warranty. So we would do body work and stuff like little dings and stuff on that as well, like even on the
Nice.
new car side, as well as accessories and some other things. So, but the thing I learned along the way is that I was not thrilled about where that, how that, what the job was like for me at that point with all the locations, all the employees, um, all the hassle, and just my existence was dealing with used car managers. And I don't know if you've bought a used car from a dealt
It's
there.
a process.
It is a process, and the crazy thing is the way they deal with. I think over the years they've gotten better, but at least back in that time frame, it was like they would play a lot of games with their clients, but every game they played with their clients, they'd also play with their vendors, and that was like um, I decided, this isn't really for me. So what do I want to do? Well, what does Todd Jones want? I want to do something with computers. So that's kind of then what got me, uh, deciding that I need to learn or do something new. So.
Awesome. So the computer thing, how so you in relation to you working on cars, you saw the people coming that worked in computers with computers, you saw their nice cars and you were like, "Hey, this must be where it's at. I'm going to shift a little bit."
Yeah, I was sort of like one of those things like, well, I'm really not crazy about the car business as an industry. Just rather make money and have a barn with my own stuff in it and cars to play around with or my own cars to have and not really do it as a business. So, at that point when I first started out with so and the thing that's interesting about this is that I guess in reflecting on all this is that the the way that I did things back then was kind of the DNA for TepinTasks because TepinTasks, what TepinTasks is, it's a task, project, and goal management system where it kind of connects the dots from your goals all the way
Okay.
down to your daily tasks and your routines. And so the methodology behind TepinTasks has kind of been the DNA of how I've done every business I've ever been involved with. So as an example, when I decided I wanted to get into computers, what I did is, because I didn't know any better, I was like, I looked in the paper back when this is aging me, right? Back when there was such a thing as a newspaper, that you opened up,
Right.
you looked at the classified ads
I
for,
remember those.
and I looked in and found the ads like these jobs look interesting, like something I would that look interesting. And then they always list all the things you need to have to get the job, right? So you
Sure.
have a little acronym credentials, and you need these certifications, and need this, and need this, and need this, and experience, and blah 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 blah. So I just figured out what those things were that looked like I would need, and I went to Barnes and Noble again back when there were such things. I think there are still a few Barnes and Noble around, so
I
they're not.
think so.
But back when there used to be bookstores where that's where you had to go to get books to learn stuff.
Before Google.
Before you Googled it and went online. Yeah, so I went to Barnes and Noble and I probably bought about 40 books.
Okay.
And and then I reversed engineered the process. I said, okay, to get this credential, I need to read these books. To get that credential, I need to read these books. To get that credential, I need to read those books and have this experience. So then I just built a plan backwards where it's like, okay, for so my plan was A plus certification, network plus, security plus, and then MCSE, MSP, and then MCSE. So that was and then I figured I would try and get an entry level job, then a field tech job, then an administrator job, and then I would figure out, by then I'd have enough information to figure out, well, what's the big idea in business that I could just go do my own thing, right?
Right.
So I kind of figured out the books that I needed. I figured, okay, these books for A plus involve these 3 or 4 books. It's X number of pages, which means if I'm going to get this done in a year, I need to read this amount of pages per day. I went through those books in advance, all the books I bought, numbered all the paragraphs, figured out with a question. I just made myself a question on each paragraph that I put into a test for myself. And then I figured out the number of pages to study every day. And then I went through and I read the pages and I took my own test. And then I went
Nice.
and after a year, I got the entry level job at a call center. In the call center, I went from just we were answering calls for Hewlett, for Packard Bell, I'm sorry,
Okay.
support center and extended warrant. It was a cross between, we take some calls for Packard Bell, some calls for extended warranties on the computers. So entry level job, I started there doing troubleshooting. So I would sit there and read and take calls to learn the business, learn the craft. And I went from just being on the call floor to being a team lead to being team manager to be an assistant floor manager to being the floor manager. And then I also took all my tests of, that because everybody in the call center, there's like 300 people in the call center. They're all like pretty much pursuing A plus certification.
Okay.
So I took my own tests. I took my test that I written for myself from the original. Trying to remember the name of the book now. It was that big fat one. It was the original Bible for A plus. Um, but I took my test that I wrote for myself from those books and started training the entire call center to be A plus certified. And then I left the call center because when I got A plus certified, after the year, I on target did that, got my field tech job, got the next certification, quit that place, went to the next place, got my did administration, went to the next place, and kind of then after that point, I had a stint with a company where I came up with two big ideas, which one was essentially, although at the time it wasn't managed service practices, it was flat rate IT,
Okay.
and the other one was putting a build wireless in hotels that you could pay for on an hourly or daily basis. So
Okay.
I came up with those business models, presented it to a company, built a whole business, wrote a patent on that. Um, so
Nice.
devious mind, uh, uh, yeah, met with every hotel chain under the sun, did a prototype, got the product launched, and moved on into my own because that was in partnership with another place that I did all that. I mean, that was my concept, my idea, my baby. But then I wanted to do my complete own thing. So I went on to idea number two, which is flat rate IT. And I figured, hey, we can centralize services. Because one of the concepts I had in the car business was we had a deal, I had a deal, and there was a lot of similarities to an MSP practice and what I did in the car business.
Sure.
One of those concepts was flat rate. So like one of the things how we got a lot of the car dealerships on our services was is like we just charge them a set amount per car. Didn't matter what it was. So like on the new car side, we would window tint and pinstripe every car. So the deal was, hey, we're gonna pinstripe and window tint every new car in this dealership. Every car that comes in, we have access to the key box. You let us do our own thing, but we'll charge you a flat rate for every vehicle. There'll be like no variance, and if the customer doesn't want it, we'll remove it for free. So,
Wow.
so that was kind of the concept of, but it was the numbers game, right? Because then some of the dealerships we're doing 400 tent jobs a month, right?
So it didn't matter if it was a big van or a, small car, they were
Correct.
the same price. So it may
Yeah.
take you longer on the van, but you were just grouping it all together.
Yeah, correct. So, but
Awesome.
it was that idea kind of in some similarities to flat rate IT, right? Or a
Yep.
managed service practice where you make the money by scaling it, right? And by having the big accounts and by like because I mean, you do a two-door car, you know, obviously that offsets a van or something big,
Right.
like it's more difficult. But at the same time, what we would do is I had a warehouse where we could pull cars in side by side, 10 cars deep. And I had drivers that would pull them in, and I had multiple window tinters, and we would line those cars up, and we would do 20 two-door cars, in 4 or 5 hours.
Wow.
We would roll them through, and the tinter on this side would be doing this window and this window.
I
Tinter on
got you.
that side is doing, and they're
Like an assembly line.
right. Instead of like cutting one for just this one car, they're cutting six at a time, you know?
Very cool.
So anyway, so that was some similarities in concept to managed services in the sense that, hey, you charge a certain amount per computer or per user, and you have different packages of different things and then try and get the whole business and control the account, right? Which is
Right.
anything that they need then become add-on services, and you know, it's then a recurring model where you're making, because that was the thing, like in the car businesses, it was the same thing, which is when you were trying to go chase down and get the managers to approve, hey, here's some cars that may need tint, or customers that would want the tent, then they're waiting for it to be done. It was a rush. And it was sort of like, or, instead of that, like, because then that I'm not sure about how many tent jobs I'm doing a month. And I don't know when I'm doing them, right?
Right.
But when I can say, hey, we're doing every car on the lot, now I can assembly line it. I can predict the revenue. I can manage the discounts on the materials. It has a lot of scalability advantages, right? So
Awesome.
some of that concept was also what I wanted to bring to computers, which was like, hey, this should be something we should be able to, and this is back in the day when it's PC Anywhere, right? The tool to remote into, we were buying the yellow boxes of software.
Yeah. Semantic. PC anywhere.
Yeah. Yeah. So we could remote into, computers so that we could like centralize support and do the same thing. Because when I first started, doing IT support and trying to go find clients, that was the problem, right? Which is that you go in, it's like they're they would call you like they call you when they have a problem, but you would never be able to predict when that was going to be. And it was
Exactly.
always at the wrong time, right? Which is like everyone, there's no problems at all, but then they all have problems at the same time. And half the people you were wanting to do work for, you couldn't do it and they got upset because it all happened at once. But then it all happened because it wasn't proactive, right? You're putting out fires instead of avoiding fires. So that was, in some crazy ways, there's a lot of similarities in those businesses that kind of transferred over into my concept on now what we call like managed services. But yeah, that's how I got started.
So where does Auto Elevate fit into all of that?
So yeah, I mean, auto elevate was just one of those ideas that was, I had a number of different concepts and ideas that kind of came about along the way of like, here's a problem that exists that's a big pain, right? And how to, if I imagined how would I solve that, what would that look like if it could be solved, right? And so
Okay.
I go about my day of working as an MSP, and every time something would happen I think, well, what would be the system where this could be solved and not be such a disruptive pain, right? And so that was kind of the underpinnings for auto elevate was just my own MSP practice and what I experienced with my guys, because I had in at one point probably 12 or 13 guys in that, and it was just always a problem that needed to be solved. So when I exited my MSP practice, I was like, I'm going to build that.
That's very cool. Very cool. So Auto Elevate came out of your own need that you developed in your own company. You saw a need for it firsthand because you probably learned in reading the books that you read from Barnes and Noble or Books a Million that the end user doesn't need to run with full administrative access. But if they don't run with full administrative access, they're going to be calling you saying, "Hey, I need you to help me install this program, or I need help doing this." So,
Yep, that's exactly right. And through experience, right? I mean, I had some clients, early on that, and absolutely insisted, no, you can't do that because you'll never respond. You'll take too long to respond,
yep.
and there's friction and problems with that. And of course, then the ones that were locked down, then that also created challenges, especially when you're using PC Anywhere or something like that. So it's just one of those things along the way. I mean, and yeah, as the business progressed, I mean, I was early on involved with Enable, like back when it was the 1U server that you had to buy yourself for 100
Okay.
grand or whatever it was. It was like super crazy expensive, and I remember I had the 1U server and that would support like 100 endpoints, and it was like,
Okay.
and it was stupid expensive. And but Enable really had the spiel down on proactive services, right? And monitoring, which was key. And then I use Enable, I use Kaseya, I used early on with ConnectWise. You know, let's see what else. Synchro, I got involved with that when that came out and was interesting. Uh, all the Datto stuff. Yeah, I mean, used a lot of different, all the different things. I've used all the different things in the stack, but things progressed technology along the way, and the need for privilege escalation, privilege management was just something that's I kept thinking, man, someone's gonna come out with this. Someone's gonna like if I go to all the shows and I visit all the booths, someone's gonna have this thing that I need, right? And they never did. So when I exited my MSP, I was like, I'm gonna do that. And so yeah,
So was Auto Elevate the first PAM solution available in the real world?
to my knowledge, I mean, there were I think there were other companies that were um, kind of coming about the same idea at the same time,
Gotcha.
or similar adjacent, or there's a lot of thinking around this, right? That was kind of bubbling at the time in various ways. To my knowledge, I mean, our solution was the only one that kind of did it in that way, and certainly the only one that was the only one in the beginning that was for MSPs.
Gotcha.
So, I mean, when we started doing, talking about auto elevate and the concept, it did not exist in the MSP space or in enterprise software either. So, and that was part of it. It was funny because many of the people that originally I talked to and showed, they're like, this is like the dumbest idea ever. You'll never sell it.
And little did they know, it's a godsend to the MSP world. So,
As I said, well, that's like I kept saying, it's like, you don't understand. It will be a godsend to the MSP world. Trust me. We'll see.
well, you've got the last laugh now. So
Yeah.
awesome. So you've gotten all these companies started, and thank you for sharing your background and everything. So you've got a new company now, TepinTasks. Tell us a little bit about TepinTasks.
Yeah. So, as I briefly mentioned, I mean, TepinTasks is goal project task management software,
Okay.
which doesn't at the surface sound too revolutionary or different. TepinTasks, but there definitely are some things that are unique and different about it that to me are very exciting. But the concept for TepinTasks was really my yellow pad of paper that I would use for pretty much every business thing I would, and even as an MSP, I always had a pad of paper, and yellow is the official color that it should be. If you're using white paper, you're doing it wrong. But I always had a yellow pad of paper, and even though I had stuff in ConnectWise, I had stuff in Kaseya, I had stuff in like tickets and boards and all the stuff and all the different tech stack things. I also had my list of pad of paper of all the different things that I needed to get done in a day, which is like a range of things, either personally, professionally, with clients, what have you. And so my method each month would be I'd figure out what am I trying to get done this month, what moves the business forward. This is the yellow pad of paper was kind of working on the business as some of those systems were working in the business, right?
Sure.
Solving tickets, working with monitor our automations and responses and things like that all necessary working in the business. The yellow pad of paper was kind of always my way to work on the business, which was each year try and outline what am I trying to get done this year to move the business forward? What am I trying to get done this month that moves that forward? Then on a daily basis, kind of my method each day was I'm just kind of each morning, because as an MS, each morning I would just write down everything that was on my mind that I'm trying to remember to do, right? I always felt like, and had told people, I said, running an MSP practice is kind of like trying to get a drink of water from a spoon under a waterfall. It's just like you have stuff coming at you from every direction,
Yep.
And this way I felt. I don't know if that was just me or the universal feeling, but it's like, you got 50 or 60 clients that you have on contract or whatever, and you're a part of their business and you're on top of all the things that are happening in their business, things that you have to do to improve and keep things running on the servers and in your environments. But then you also have all of your employees and all your people and all their drama and all their things. But then it's also the marketing, the financing, the banks, my family, the
Yep.
the vacations, the things at church or whatever. It's like I got all these things that are I'm juggling, and although a lot of those things like then are also, some of those elements where I have all these things in my ticketing system, I have all these things in my RMM system. I'm still got all these other things going on, right? That I have to like keep moving forward and keep tracking and like making sure that I don't drop the ball on. And that was always the feeling. It's like, well, I just don't want to drop the ball. So every morning I write everything down, and then I kind of everything that I wrote down, I categorize. This is personal, this is client, this is work, this is, 4 or 5 different categories. And then I would then look at all the personal things and say, okay, I know I can't, all the things that are on my mind personally, some of them I don't need to worry about right now, but I don't want to forget them. Which are the number ones? Like, what's the most important thing? I'd mark these ones are ones, these ones are twos, these ones are three. Then I say, oh, out of my work items, which ones are ones, which ones are twos, which ones are threes. Out of my client things, which ones are ones, which ones are twos, which ones for the stuff that moves the business forward, the marketing campaigns or the business things I got to get done that make everything better, which were, ones, twos, and threes. And then after I have my ones, twos, and threes, then I just concentrate only on the ones and I figure out of all the ones, what's the one thing that's the most important thing that I work on, and I try and put concentrate effort on that and get that done, cross it off. Then I keep working on the number ones. Each day I do the same thing. Each day I write down the new things, reclassify everything, cross things off that were done, renumber things, and then usually after a day or two or a week, I would have to get a new sheet, and then I just keep the pad of paper. I still got tons of those pads, all the crazy stuff, and it's fun to look at sometimes. But it was just the process of essentially then taking that I do on a daily or weekly basis and kind of making sure it matched up to then the stuff that I outlined for the month and going back and reviewing that, which would see if it matched up to the year. So that process was also the same sort of process that even when I got into IT, right? Of reverse engineering, like, hey, here's the certifications here's the job I want, which is the long-term goal. Or the long-term goal is to start an IT business of some kind. I don't even know what that looks like yet for sure. But the short-term goal is I gotta learn the skills and get these skills, which means I gotta get these certifications, which means I gotta read these books, which means I gotta, have this experience and I have to get these things, learned and certified and whatever. It's just that same process of having a vision of what you want to do, breaking it down, reverse engineering it, and then figuring out what is it I need to do each day that lines up to that, right? And kind
Sure.
of the discipline of doing that. That yellow pad of paper concept, though, of working on your business, that is TepinTasks. So
Okay.
just like so many things, whether it's bookkeeping or accounting system or any kind of software that we use, those all have a basis of kind of doing things manually, of kind of how we've always done, or the reality of how things are done, right? But having it into a digital system has huge advantages. As an example, with TepinTasks, you can delegate items, group things, give exposure to other people. You get statuses back and forth. You can sync calendars. It does a lot of stuff, and obviously allows you to well, not obviously, it allows you to visually map out things. So you can kind of then, instead of having all these pads of paper and trying to manually connect it all and then explain it to somebody else, you have it all right in there mapped out and it's shareable and other people have exposure to the things that they should have exposure to and not other things. You can easily delegate items to other people and it shows up in their list of things to do. And it's, conceptually, like the main interface of our program is kind of like that yellow pad of paper concept of where every day you dump down all the things that have to be done, throw it into different groups, prioritize, throw it into different buckets on which things can be done later, which things need to be done now, and then put the most important thing at the top and work from the top of the list. The nice
So you had created all these businesses. How would TepinTasks today have helped you back then in those other businesses? I know you said you had the yellow pad of paper, the yellow pads. How
well,
would what would TepinTasks have done differently for you back then?
yeah, that's a good question. I mean, in some ways, it's hard to even kind of figure that out because even the basis, like if I had TepinTasks back then, I would be like this is like hoverboarding, and flying cars compared to what, like, you
To a
know,
horse and buggy.
yeah, yeah. But I mean, one of the biggest things is just obviously the portability of it from being able to have it on my phone and not physically only having access to it when the pad of paper is on my desk. So having access to it wherever, whenever, but also the biggest thing and one of the more powerful things is the ability to delegate tasks to other people. because the problem with one of the problems with the yellow pad of paper is that, okay, I got all these notes and stuff of what I'm doing and why I'm doing it and how it all connects, right? And I have this vision of how things, I have a vision in my head of what I'm trying to do and why, right?
Right.
But then when I need to then delegate pieces or parts of that to other people, they don't have that necessarily have that context. And then I got to spend a lot of time explaining how that fits in to the big picture, right? And then I have to then track it and figure out the status of it all the time. So, and if you take 10 things and delegate 10 items to 10 people, what's the typical process, right?
Sure.
It's that manual process of then you have to get a hold of them. Hey, where are we at on this? They reply back to you. Um, Getting close, something, 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 had a question. Then you answer the question, and then it's, I don't know. Again, maybe this is just the way I did things. It was messy, or I'm thinking this is the reality for everybody, but it's just like you have these email threads that some, because they're forwarded, are broken, and some are replied to, and you have all these email threads about a given thing that also include bits and pieces of other things, right?
Okay.
And so it's just kind of, I guess what I've always referred to as like communication dumpster fire, like trying to figure out, okay, so where are we at on this project, this thing that we're trying to get done, or you know, this collective thing we're working on that's outside of maybe ConnectWise or our ticketing system or our RMM tool. And we can have meetings about it, but then we're wasting everybody's time in a meeting about it. And otherwise, we all have to track it down. We have this asynchronous communication going back and forth that is hard to follow, especially when you got multiple things going on. If you, again, you delegate out 10 or 15 things, it's just even a lot of your things on my yellow pad of paper is like, get status on this, get status on this, get status on this, chase this person down, and where are we at on this? And just that communication process. Whereas obviously, when you have it all in a system where everyone has these tasks to do and they have the status set on that of active pause completed, and they also can look at a visual plan to see how it fits into the big picture of what they're working on and why it's there, and the other pieces and parts that other people are working on and what their status is. It eliminates and streamlines the communication and the speed with which you can do it. Another interesting thing about it is there's so many things like that that are should be repeatable processes. I mean, some of the real value in everyone's business is the process. I mean, we like to think it's the people or the widgets, but the reality is some of the real value is the process that you create in business. And that's where, when you have a digital system like TepinTasks, and you like it could be something like a client onboarding or an employee onboarding or offboarding. Like, what are the steps, right? What are the steps that need to be done so that we can do that repeated, consistently and repeatable? Well, when you have a task management system where you've already built those tasks, associated them all together in TepinTasks, we can make that into a template and reuse it. So that then I can build it the first time myself on here's the manual things I did, here's the steps I did. I can assemble them all into a plan view of all the pieces and parts with here's the different roles that would do each thing. And I can I can save that as a template so that the next time that has to be done, we light it up, modify the couple little pieces that need to be modified maybe or customized for that particular thing we're doing, and then make it active, and everyone gets the delegation requests so they can accept or decline, and it goes into their task list and everyone has a status on it. So there's some cool things that can be done, obviously, that the yellow pad of paper just can't do, right? So conceptually, though, it all boils down to the value of the yellow pad of paper aspect of it is the prioritization of every day. And that's really, I think, where kind of the underpinnings of success are in any business or anything that a person or a business can do, which is really successful people and businesses are usually good at two different things. They're usually good at having a vision of where they're going, what the destination looks like. So they have a vision of the business they're trying to create, a vision of the product they're trying to create, a vision of what that looks like when they get there, and they can see it, feel it, taste it, smell it. They they know what it's going to look like, what it's going to feel like, why they have a vision, right? Of this is the thing. Successful people have the vision, but then they also use that kind of as a North Star directionally so that they align all the things they're doing in a day to go that direction. Like, so
Okay.
it's kind of that idea of if you don't know where you're going, every path leads there, you know? Uh,
Right.
so, but when you know where you're going, yeah, there's twists and turns along the way, but you're moving in a direction, and the decisions that you make each day should align to that. Now, in our system, that was one of the kind of the underpinnings of that's unique about TepinTasks, which is a lot of task management systems allow you to make tasks and subtasks. Okay, great. But what if you want to like make a goal and then break that down into midterm goals, short-term goals, projects, project phases, small projects, rocks, pulses, sprints, activities, tasks, routines, and that you want that to connect to the big picture. Other products don't do that. That is something what we call task layering. And in our system, we have defined kind of business methodology stuff where it has 8 top defined layers. The top 3 layers are goals. Next 3 layers are down are projects. The bottom 2 layers are tasks. But from there, the tasks also can connect down 1,000 layers deep. So you can build out, again, just from a business standpoint, you have your vision, right, of what you're trying to do. You break it down, and then you break it down, and then you break it down, and you break it down, and you break it down. Now you're getting down to, okay, a project level where here's the project I'm trying to achieve. And this, if I get this done, it gets me in the direction of getting here.
Sure.
So now what do I need to do this month, this week, this day that align to that? And what things of that can I delegate to other people, right? So there's not just me rowing in one direction. I got the whole team rowing in that direction with the context of why, right?
There you go.
So that's did I answer your I went off on a rant there, I
Yeah,
think.
yeah, no, no, that
So
it
the two things,
totally.
it's just the vision and then working at relentlessly every day. I mean, because all of us can be busy. All of us can fill a day, no problem.
Right.
It's filling your day with the things that make a difference, though, that move your dreams, your goals, your aspirations forward. I
Being
mean,
productive.
yeah, well, everyone can be, productive in the sense they can get things done, but it's about getting the right things done. It's about
Right,
getting
right.
things done that matter in getting you to the destination. And it's
What are
that
you trying to achieve?
right. And that's where you need alignment, and that's where like having your goals like documented and kind of broken down are important, because when you do that, again, it then affects each decision you make really in a day. It's like, okay, now if I'm honest with myself, these things, while yes, they need to be done, do they further do they get me closer to the goal, right? Of what I'm trying to get done this month that leads to the goal, right? Well, a lot of times the answer is no, and that doesn't mean those things don't get done. It just means you can't give them priority.
Right.
It means that it's that whole concept, of kind of you have to like you can't give everything can't be a priority because nothing's a priority, right? You have
Exactly.
to put in some concentrated effort on things that move your goals forward. So again, in our product, we have a piece of it for time blocking that helps you kind of uh, block out time so that you can put concentrated effort. Because that's the thing is that um, multitasking does not really, especially for things that are complex or need creativity or, um, you know, uh, some concentrated effort. If you're switching and you're kind of trying to work on multiple things at once, that suffers, right? It's
Very true.
It's a proven thing. As much as we like to believe as humans we can multitask, it doesn't really work out efficiently in the real world that way. And that's where, again, once you understand the things that move your business forward, and you can set aside and block out some time to specifically work on those things, and then let all the other priorities flow around that, then you'll start kind of being able to knock out some of those things that move everything forward for you. And those are
Awesome.
the right things.
Well, are you able to give us a demo today of the platform?
Yeah, sure. I could share my screen and give you a quick look. Let me move a few things around here and I will, so it makes, give me 1 second, I'll share my screen.
Sure, sure,
Okay. Bear with me here for 1 second, Scott.
sure, sure.
All right. Can you see my screen there?
Nope,
Oh,
still you.
okay, hold on. Guess you got to hit there you go. Helps if you hit the share button after you select the screen. Got it.
Perfect.
Okay, let me see if I can move this crazy Zoom bar out of the way a little bit. Okay. All right. So this is kind of the main screen. I would call this this is called the My Today page. It's kind of the equivalent of the yellow pad of paper where you prioritize each day. The
Okay,
um, the concept is just like I told you, each morning to make a new task, you can dump it all down. I gotta get milk. You can just enter it in and or type it in, hit enter, and then it pulls up the next one. Let's see, need to what else I need to do?
get the oil changed.
Oh, okay. Okay. So again, the idea is each day you just dump down the things that need to be done, yellow pad of paper style.
Okay,
By default, those are entered into every task is part of a group. The private group is a special group, which no one else has exposure to the tasks that you put in the private group, it's just you. All the other groups here at the top, you can have other people part of that then would give them exposure to the tasks in the different
okay.
views that we have. But in this case, when I made those, it made them all private. So like milk, that's fine. I guess I could actually make milk. We'll make that a family item, and we'll make
I
oil.
was going to ask you if you had a family category.
Yeah, well, the groups are something you can make as you can make 99 groups right currently in our system. We can make room for more if there's a need. But you can make whatever groups you want to, and you can add people to those groups. And the groups do two things. They allow other people to have exposure to the tasks that are part of those groups, but it also
Okay,
acts as filtering. So, like in this case, getting the contract signed, we'll call that a sales activity. And the follow up on this one, we will call this service. All right. So up here in the header, you can see the groups, and as I can deselect the groups, and it also acts as filtering in all the views for all the pages. So in this case, as you deselect the groups, it will start to then filter out this view where it's just going to show me just the things that are part of this group. So for right now, for my private item, all I have is a cardio workout. So these are the groups. And if I want to see HR things, see what I got. I got a couple in the next and later group. What these are, these little drag and drop things, these are just so again, things that I earlier put into I said, hey, I can do this next, later, or future. Maybe now is the time where I have to like move this up and get that done, get that done today. Um,
I see.
so, and these are drag and drop. You can sort these things out in your view. Um, at the same time, you can drag them over here, and it kind of puts them into these different buckets. Again, just kind of the supercharged way of the yellow pad of paper where you dump everything down, put it into different categories, figure out now what's the most important thing that I need to get done now so that you can just solely concentrate on those things. Now, the group filtering up here is also controllable by what we call categories. So each category, you can also define the categories. So in this case, I have a personal category, which just pre-selects like all my personal. And then when I say personal, this is,
A
uh,
filter, if you will. It
yeah,
filters it all out.
productive Pete's, not me.
Okay.
So, old productive. And like, so what this allows you to do though is that now in your day, when you want to say, what were the personal things, family things, my golf friends, other junk, it's my lunch hour. I'm gonna like knock out the little things I gotta do. Okay. Well, now I can just look at that with a click and see where I'm at, right? So
Very nice.
when I worked out, it's going to cross that off. So each day, the completed items get cleared off the list. They don't go, they're all available in all tasks where you can sort and look at different views. But here in the My Today page, it's about things that you have that are assigned to you and that are you're kind of prioritizing for today. So in this case, like if you look at the work items, same sort of thing. You might say, you know what, this thing right here is a thing that is a routine. So it has lots of little fun things built into this here, where it helps you, um, keep track of things that are on routines or that's and keep track of where you're at on different things. And also then prioritize those things out. So again, as an example, you could just say, well, actually, for this, I'm going to let's set a due date of this for tomorrow, but I'm not going to really worry about it till tomorrow. And what that'll do is I have it kind of out of my view of things I'm trying to get done today, but because it has a due date and it's sitting down here, what'll happen is tomorrow it'll pop up into this top list automatically. So I have it right there and kind of flows into everything automatically.
Does it have built-in reminders?
So the reminders really right now are in the form of it putting things up into the today group.
Okay.
We will have reminders, other reminders that will be built in the system for scheduled things, and that will be coming up here in the next couple of weeks. We should have the reminders built in as well.
Nice.
So, because in this, you notice the little calendar widget, because it's in each day, it's like trying to look at things in total of here's all the list of things I need to do, but here's also things that are scheduled that I've agreed to do at a certain time. So as an example, if this is a meeting, I can select this is a scheduled thing. And when I put that as a scheduled thing, it's going to show up in my
Show up on the right.
on the right, and I can obviously move this around and change it, but it'll show up here with this little symbol. So it's in my task list of things to do, but it's also, I know this has a set time that I've set to do this specific thing, right? And
Okay.
of course you can add attendees to that, so where it acts as a meeting, and all of these groups, I mean, you can go in and sync these groups with external calendars. So each group can have a calendar synced, either one way or inbound, outbound, or bidirectionally to a Google Calendar or Office 365, because all of this stuff,
Nice.
then whether it's just stuff that you've built here in TepinTasks or is being synced from those external calendar systems, you can see here it's all based on the filtering. So again, it's the filtering kind of is the same in all of the views. So as you go from screen to screen, if you're only looking at personal things, you're only looking at the personal calendar and the personal, My Today page, so that you can kind of keep on. Again, it's about focus, right? Of when I'm on my personal time or family time or hobby time or church time, then I want to be trying to focus on those things. But when I'm at work, I also don't want to lose all that stuff, but I want to be focused on the things that are most important at work that also connect to the big picture.
Awesome. Was very straightforward. I love the grouping, how you've got groups, the leadership, marketing, private work, legal, sales.
Yeah, and again, the groups are something that you define and can sort. So, I mean, this is something that, you can kind of make new groups and figure out what makes sense. I mean, the group, you can use it, it's highly customizable from the standpoint of, um, you can, again, you can customize the buckets here. So you could say this is today, tomorrow, this week, this month, or it could be needs to be done, could be done later, and ideas, whatever you want. And same thing with these levels, the levels of how everything connects together. You can put your own terminology in there. So this might be a BHAG, big area audacious goal. This might be a rock. You can name those and customize those so that things show up in the way that you want them to be seen, with your terminology and the way you do things. So
So is there a minimum of groups that you can have, a minimum number of groups?
the minimum number of groups, the minimum is you always will have a private group. So
Okay.
the private group is a special group because it's when you out of the box, it's defaulted. And I mean, you can change the color and the name, but this group exists and it only can have you in there.
Hmm.
All the other groups, it could be just you and all the other groups as well, but all the other groups have the ability to add other people into the groups that would give them exposure to the tasks that are in that group. Because again, the My Today page are things that are assigned to me that are part of those groups, but the All Tasks group will show you things that are the other people are assigned to. Real quick, I want to show you this. This is what we call plan view.
Okay.
So plan view is the visual piece to it. So you can then see how
Nice.
this relates to, you know, the things relating to each other. So, and this is where you can really map out the big picture, of things that need to be done and by who. So this is in progress. This is done. You can see who is assigned to the different things. You could and each one of these tasks, or each one of these things could be a task or a thing that's part of a different group that different people have permissions or not have permissions to see, and also different groups, and each one could be assigned to a different person. So
Nice.
again, it gives you kind of a view of where we at and how does this particular task right here relate to the big picture of of the other parts of this project, right?
No, I think the visual is very important.
So yeah, again, just gives good context, uh, and helps you again connect the dots between here's the big picture. How do I break that down all the way down to tasks that then can flow into the priority list for me and things I'm working on, or for the whole team. You'll note that this has a similar look and feel to some of the pieces that we also had in Auto Elevate, the same kind of data grid.
Yeah, it kind of looks the same.
So same way, if you're familiar with how that works, this works the same way, where you can um, uh, drag and drop and look at, any of these. So if we want to see which things are not started in which groups and what the count is and where we at, who's assigned to, easy ways to do that here in the grid. And of course you can sort the views, filter all of the columns, have it which ones show and don't show, and you can export all that as well. So
Nice.
and again, with those plan views, you can also template them out. So one of the challenges that I ran into in trying to document things, which was I'm gonna move you over here so I can see you. One of the challenges I had in documenting things, I would write out these playbooks of what to do, like when there's an outage, what do we do? When there's a, when we onboard, what do we do? When we need to onboard a client, what do we do? And the problem is these turn into very large documents that involve multiple roles and multiple people. And it was always this balance of a complaint of it's not detailed enough, it's too detailed. Because it's not detailed enough, you involve a process that involves 4 or 5 people, right? And then I don't know I didn't know that they were done or not done with this piece. And I was waiting on them to tell me. And this person didn't know that they can't do this piece until that piece is done. But then you add enough detail to it, and that document becomes 20 pages long of all the steps and all the things that have to be done. Then it becomes overwhelming. The nice thing about laying these out as tasks is that, first of all, when you can first of all just start out by doing it yourself. Like if I'm going to go do something, I just make a task for me. I put my notes in there. I can put a link in there to the I can put a link in there to the documentation in SharePoint, and I can then like complete that or do that, but I can assemble that in a plan view with the other pieces and steps that I did, and I can in a click convert that to a template, assign roles of here's what accounting does, here's what HR does, here's what the engineers do, here's what the client needs to do, here's what I need to do, here's what so-and-so, the different roles. I can save that, and then we have a template that can be reused again and again and again, so that next time we're doing this, I can open the template, apply it, make active tasks, invitations go out to everyone for the tasks that need to be done, and I have a status on the things that are done. So here under delegate, when you delegate items to other people, you can then see the status on those things, and you have little heat maps that show you
Nice.
there's 0 out of 2, 0 out of 3 complete, but you can see there's active and pause, and there's some here that aren't started. So, and each task itself also has chat on the task itself. So just instead of having a massive Teams channel or Slack channel where we're talking about everything, I can just ask specifically about this task. And it's just on that task itself. And where that shows up is they'll be notified, but on their side, it will have a little bubble, and
Okay.
they'll see this task. They had a comment on it that they're assigned to, and that conversation could take place right there in the task as part of the history of the task, not part of some massive channel, right?
Okay.
So there's some interesting things there that, really, again, it's the yellow pad of paper supercharged on steroids, flying hoverboards, and that you can do because so.
Well, I can tell you've got a lot of time invested in this. It's a very well polished product. Looks very nice and it's easy to understand. It's very straightforward and logical.
Well, thanks. Yeah, I mean, we've spent, after Auto Elevate, I was only retired for about 5 minutes, and then I was like, on to the next, idea, and I've spent, had to, go put together a new development team and everything else, but spent the better part of almost 3 years putting this all together to where it's this point. So it kind of met the MVP part of the vision, because I have a lot of things that are coming down the pipe that are at various stages of development that are coming as additional features that ride on top of this core product that are significant. So there's some really nice things coming. And we didn't even talk about the mobile app. The mobile app is super. It's in Android and the Apple iOS, and it
Okay.
allows you it again has all this in the palm of your hand, but
Okay.
it also has a feature where you can talk into it, and when you talk into it, it'll make the task. It'll make a task for you using kind of AI. It takes your voice, preserves the original audio, and then transcribes it, and AI figures out which group it should be part of, who it should be assigned to, any dates and times, due dates. if it's a meeting, people that should be invited, it does all
Very
that
cool.
for you.
All
Um,
with AI. So do you call that talk to task?
Talk to task, yeah.
Okay. Awesome. So
So
is there AI involved anywhere else in the TepinTask?
so um so yeah, there is another tool that we're actually releasing today that's a business survey. And what the
Okay.
business survey does is the business survey is 11 question survey that a business would answer the questions like, here's what our long-term goal is, here's the things that are challenges, da 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 da. It asks 11 questions, and then we analyze that on the back end and then break it down for them of here's what your long-term, mid-term, short-term goals, projects, all the different pieces and parts, all the way down to daily activities should be. And then it generates that into a plan view automatically and puts
Nice.
it all into TepinTasks with the proposed groups, and it builds it all automatically.
Nice.
So
And obviously this is the mobile version that we're seeing on the screen now.
yeah, so the mobile here, and this is the talk to task piece is fun. Um, So I say, hey, Susan, can you make a 5-piece marketing campaign that highlights ITBOG that needs to be sent out to promote the business survey? So what that does, you hit the little magical button. It transcribes it, preserves the original audio because we have an interface on the website that is like a transcription interface where they can listen to that and then manually adjust, parts of it. This is like what the AI came up with is that it figured out this should be part of the marketing group. Should be assigned to Successful Susan. It had the title and the description. And basically all I have to do to delegate that to her is hit save. And what that does, it goes out,
Wow.
it pings her and has her where she can is notified via email and inside the app that she's been assigned this task. And when she accepts it, and you'll see here if I guess I could I gotta share my screen a different way here. When you So first of all, here from Pete's perspective, the delegated task. So it's here in the delegated items. It's blue because this little ring is blue, and you can see
Well,
mouse over.
we can only see you right now.
Oh, I'm sorry. I always forget to hit share. I'm sorry.
No
I get
problem.
it. I get it all the way there, and I select the screen. I don't hit share. All right. So sorry. Yeah, here on the My Today page under delegated, I'm looking at the drop down here for Successful Susan. You see this task that I just delegated from the phone is here in
Okay.
the delegated items, and of course I can see this on the phone as
Nice.
well. So I can do this on the fly, which is obviously as a MSP, a business owner,
Very convenient.
very yeah. I'm mobile a lot of the time, right? So whether that be because I'm in between clients or out on the road or whatever I'm doing. So when I delegated that, it preserves the original audio. I can see the status of it. She has not accepted it yet. It's pending. See, I think I have her open on another screen here. See, are you able to see the black
Yeah.
version? Okay, yeah. So I just want to make sure I had it. So on her side, I put her in dark mode so that you could see who's who. So
Okay.
in her pending items, first of all, she got a bubble on the chat that we sent earlier, notification. But
Gotcha.
on this thing, I guess that was the ITBOG thing is this one. So gives her that description, the stuff in there. She can accept or decline. If she accepts, then it just flows into, and we'll accept this one too. What those do is then it flows into her list of things to do. And she can see from here, these little icons are showing up because those were delegated from somebody else, in this case, Productive Pete. And then this
Okay.
icon here gives her access to the interface where she can listen to the original audio and or just the title and description. But then, of course, when she moves along, and this again could be she can have all of her own things going on aside from what's been delegated to her, and she can order and prioritize that as she sees fit. But then again, when she sets status on these things, notification goes out to the other person so that then the other person is going to be able to see the heat map of what's done, how many are done, which
Okay.
things are. So at this point now, I haven't had to have this massive email thread and chain of communications back and forth. All that is contained in the task of anything that we had to talk about, but also when it's done, I'm notified. And now that I see they're done, I can just dismiss that just so I clean up my view. They're still all available in all tasks as completed tasks. I have a history of all that, but just keep now I just know here's what's left, what's next, right? Of things I've delegated out.
Well, everyone needs a successful Susan and a productive Pete working for
Exactly.
them.
Exactly. Yeah. So the interesting thing is that and this kind of was one of the things, and I know I know we're probably over the allotted time.
That's all right.
We're okay.
Yeah, you were okay.
Um, One of the interesting things that we built into this from the ground up was the ability. Yes, you can delegate tasks to people that are part of a group. And you can add people to groups. And from that standpoint, that's great. And one of the things we've done is that when everybody that everybody that has an account is part of what we call our prosperity program, and that it's essentially an affiliate program of sorts that's very automated, so you don't have to put a lot of brain damage into it. Um, and it happens automatically. So when you create a group and you add people to the group, an email goes out that invites them to the group. And when they get that email and say, hey, yeah, I'll join the group, they are a child of your affiliate account automatically.
Okay.
And they then obviously gain access to the group, and they have a free TepinTasks account when that happens. So you're not asking them to buy anything, because the free version, we have a full 14-day trial that's everything. But after that 14-day trial expires, it's simply the mobile app is free, so they can use it via the mobile apps, iOS and Android. Um, After that, and definitely. So the idea behind that was so that you could have a system where you could invite people to groups and delegate things to people. It would then kind of widen your network, because everyone can use this program for something, right? Like some people might use it because they're working out and they want to set routines and habits and manage their workouts, or manage like their hobbies or their groups or their church or whatever. That's great. Or they might want to use it for that and their business and everything else. When those things are shared as part of groups and delegated items, it kind of expands your affiliate down, your affiliate network down 5 layers deep. So I don't know if that makes sense, but
Sure.
essentially what that means, guys, if you took this to your clients and introduced TepinTasks to your clients, just by mere you invite them to a group or delegate an item to them, or have them fill out the business survey to see how it might be able to help their business, they then become affiliates of you, your child affiliates. But if then they put people into groups, delegate items, have other people use surveys as part of their business, those people also become your child affiliates down 5 layers deep. And things get interesting at layers 3, 4, and 5, because it's not
Awesome.
something that you have to specifically do. You're just introducing the product to the people that you're directly introducing it to, probably your MSP clients or your friends and family or whoever that you think would be useful to. But from what if they use the product from there to organize their goals, their groups, their activities, their stuff they're doing, it will spread organically below you. Again, 5 layers deep, and things get interesting at layers 3, 4, and 5. So,
Nice. Nice. Well, it
and
seems like a great opportunity.
yeah, so it actually, the product is really, we built it to be affordable, but because of the nature that we kind of have the revenue share monthly recurring, And because it happens organically and automatically, it is, a really powerful partner program for those that want to, be involved with that. And again, even if they don't, it kind of behind under the covers, it's making all the associations for you automatically. So at whatever time, if you use the program and are a believer in it and cheerlead it, um, all the connections are happening automatically. You just have to say, I want to sign up and be paid for it, and then give us the PayPal account, and then we pay you for it.
Awesome. Well, listen, we talked a lot about TepinTasks, about a little bit of everything today. But if we've got a business owner who is watching the live stream today and they want to learn more about TepinTasks or want to sign up for the free trial, what's the best way that they can do that?
Um, just go to the website. The website, TepinTasks, it's tasks plural, tepintasks.com.
Okay.
Um, and then there's a getting started, or you'll see a thing there that says get started or free trial. We have it in various places there. Just click
Okay.
that. You sign up. There's no credit card required. It gives you a full blown 14-day trial. It turns into the free mobile only version after that. But yeah, just sign up and give it a try. And
Awesome.
that's and again, when you do that, you already will have essentially your partner program ID under the covers. And if you introduce it to anyone, even on the trial, it's making those associations automatically for you and keeping track of it. So
Very cool.
just
Very
yeah, just
cool.
sign up and give it a try, and go to work trying to organize. We will we don't have it on the website yet because it literally was being released by the team before we got on the call today. The
Okay.
new AI driven business tool for that could be used by an MSP who's like, how do I get my MSP? Here's my, just answer the 11 questions, just like as a business owner. Like, here's the problems I'm having, here's the struggles, here's what I'm trying to do, here's what I'm doing well. And then it will do an analysis and say, here's the things you need to focus on, here's what the priorities should be. And again, it's AI suggested, so you can't like get nuts with it, from the standpoint, but
Sure.
what it does do is it kind of builds out everything for you into our tool, so you have a really nice starting place. And I think that's the usefulness of AI in a lot of cases, right?
Yeah,
Is that
absolutely.
it gets you a good starting place where then it's like, oh, I didn't even think about that stuff. Now I got 85% of it, 90% of it. Now I can kind of tweak it. And now I have this instant game plan basically where I was feeling disorganized before. Now I'm organized and I can start to kind of prioritize and delegate and, get things moving in the right direction.
Very cool. Well, Todd, thank you so much for your time today. It's been a pleasure getting to know you and getting to know your past businesses and the history there. So, thank you for sharing all that. I really appreciate it, and we'll have to do this again sometime soon.
Yeah, definitely, Scott. I mean, the whole IT MSP, community is near and dear to my heart. It's a great community, right? That between all the knowledge sharing and events that everyone's involved in, I have a lot of friends, and a lot of good memories working exclusively with MSPs. Now
Very
that
cool.
Pep Tasks, we definitely we're happy to be here and kind of back in the mix to see where this might help all of y'all. But from that standpoint, it's a great tool for kind of everybody, right?
Awesome. Well, Todd, I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, sir.
All
Have
right,
a
you
good one.
too. Thanks so much, Scott.
Thanks.
All
Bye
right.
bye.